Hello, today I'm going to show you how to build a gnome farm in every world without the need of using a living tree. First I'll show you how the farm works, then I'll show you how to build it, and then finally I'll show you any last optimizations I do to make it a little bit more efficient. It's a pretty simple design and it's pretty easy to set up, but it'll get you lots of gnome spawns. So here's how it works. I'm going to stand about 40 blocks above the spawn surface. My spawn surface is at 94 feet above the surface. I find that anything near 100 feet works without issues, but they'll spawn either near the surface or underground as long as these natural dirt walls are present. I have a couple of stairs mixed in there to help with pathfinding, and I find placing the stairs directly under where I stand to be the best spot for them. So the initial long platform near the spawn surface is 6 blocks high, because that's how high gnomes can jump. I tried with like 3 or 4 blocks high, but I felt like I wasn't getting enough spawns, so 6 blocks high is good enough. After that, the other platforms are about 3 blocks high, just to help the gnomes and the slimes jump a little faster and get out the farm easier. Of course, the spawn surface has a lot of natural dirt walls in front of them because you need that for the gnomes to spawn, and then the later platforms don't have any background walls so that the gnomes can turn into statues. And then finally, with the way it's set up, the slimes pretty much jump off the edges and kill themselves, so you don't have to worry about killing them, and then you can just sit back and let the gnomes turn into statues. It's pretty much AFK, you don't really have to do much aside from going down to collect the gnome statues, but the platform is very wide where it'll take a long time for them to fill out all of the platform. You don't have to make it as wide, but the wider it is, the more enemies are spawning. Now that we know how it works, let's move on to building it. The first step is to kill the guide. Okay, you don't actually need to kill the guide, but just make sure there are no NPCs nearby as they'll affect spawn rates. So the actual first step is to find somewhere in the forest biome and then start digging down until you find some natural dirt walls like these. The natural walls are going to be important for making the gnome spawn. You're going to dig out a big flat area. If you want the specifics, it needs to be around 200 blocks wide. I like making it very wide just to be on the safe side. I'm going to be making my farm at around 100 blocks above the surface, or 100 feet, whatever that unit of measurement is, as that's what usually works best for me. You can make the same farm underground if you wanted, and technically the underground does have increased spawn rates compared to the surface, but just be prepared to fill in the nearby caves so that enemies don't spawn there. I'm too lazy for that, so I usually just go with these sort of surface farms. When you're done, it should look something like this. I'm going to place some extra emphasis on the natural dirt walls. You want to make sure that you're in a good spot that has a lot of these background walls because these are needed. Next, we're going to put down some blocks for the spawn surface. I think I put down about 70 or 80 blocks. You don't have to put down as many, but somewhere in the 40 to 50 range would be fine at least. The wider the better. Once you're done with the spawn surface, you're going to also just close up the sides a little bit. Now you're going to place some lava on the outside on both sides of the mob farm in order to stop the spawns from happening outside and funnel them to the spawn surface only. Next, we're going to put some rows of platforms across the mob farm. You want to make sure that the first row is exactly 6 blocks high because that's how high the gnomes can jump, and I feel like that gives enough space to the spawn surface as well. After the first row is done, you can space out the other rows with a 3 block wide gap. You're going to want to do just a couple of rows, it doesn't need to be very tall. And also I like putting these stairs here with the platforms to help the gnomes get up a little bit faster. Next, we're going to remove the background walls. We're only going to remove the background walls for some of the platforms in the top of the farm. You do not want to remove the background walls for the platforms at the bottom, especially for the spawn surface. We're doing this so that when the gnomes are exposed to sunlight, of course, they can turn into statues. If you accidentally remove the background walls from the bottom of the farm where the gnomes are spawning, then you're kind of screwed because you can't put them back. The background walls need to be naturally generated by the world, so player placed background walls will not work for the gnome spawns. So just be very careful, just do the top few rows of platforms when you're removing the walls. Next is going to be the standing area where we're going to stand so that the spawn surface is off screen. We're going to place that about 40 blocks above the spawn surface. You can measure it in ropes. If you're going to measure it in ropes, you might want to do this before you put down the platforms just to make your life easier, unlike what I did here. Then we're going to add the artificial jungle biome for the increased spawns. So that's going to be 140 lizard blocks or 140 jungle grass blocks. Then you can just pop a battle potion, put down your water candle, and watch the gnomes turn into statues. If you feel like the gnomes are taking too long to turn into statues, you can always put some more stairs to influence their movement. So now we can look at a couple things that I do just to optimize this a little bit more. For one, if you care about the loot from the enemies that are dying to the lava outside, you can always put some conveyor belts to collect the loot through the wall. These birds will start spawning when you turn it into a jungle biome, and I don't know if they're eating up spawns or not, but in the event that they are, you can always just put some dart traps like this to get them. And lastly, you can always actuate the blocks if they're getting in the way, and also when you go to collect the gnomes at the bottom, you won't have enemies spawning on top of the blocks. If you enjoyed the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.